We've all heard about psychic mediums, people who see spirits and talk to the dead. But what would a session with a psychic really be like? Find out on the next Mystic Fix.
Mystic Fix, a program for the whole being, with Julia Gordon-Bramer on NewsTalkSTL.
Welcome to Mystic Fix. I'm Julia Gordon-Bramer. I am a professional tarot card reader, an author, a poet, a scholar of mysticism, and your host. I am excited about the show today because we're on the subject of psychic mediums, what they are, what they do, and even more fun, for me anyway, is that instead of the usual tarot card reading segment, I'm going to get a reading on the program here. So first guest today is author Salicrow. She is up in the Vermont area and just an incredible, successful psychic medium. I also have a medium from the state of Delaware, Patty Rickman. Patty did an amazing reading for my sister you're going to hear a little bit about, and she is going to be the one to read for me in segment 3. So stay tuned. Welcome, Salicrow. You are the author of Spirit Speaker. Maybe you could give us a brief introduction of who you are and what this book is about.
Sure. I'm a psychic medium, and I have been aware of my gifts since I was a child. My great-grandmother was my first teacher. I've worked professionally as a psychic for the last 30 years, and this is my third book. This one I wrote for my clients, really, because I wrote it for everyday people, because there's a lot of answers to questions I am commonly asked by my clients who come for connection to their beloved dead, which are their ancestors, their loved ones who have crossed over into spirit. So this book is meant to be a healing book and a way to help people to find comfort and connection with their dead.
Yeah, I think most people know of, like the Hollywood mediums, the Long Island medium,
Right.
things like that. Do you find your work to be similar, or do you think that Hollywood has exaggerated things or maybe even disrespected the spirit?
I think that Hollywood looks for sensationalism, and that in reality, most people are not going to be happy with a stranger coming up to them on the street and, talking to them about their dead. I do think that that is personally disrespectful, but everybody has a different way of approaching it. For myself, I think that people can get really clear answers. Mediums can have clear conversations and see and hear from the dead. And everyday people can have connection with their dead. They just often write it off. We see something out of the corner of our eye and we turn to look and it's gone, and we convince ourselves that it was our imagination. And in reality, if we stopped looking at it as our imagination and we started saying, yes, that's a visitation, then we would start having more of those experiences. And often when the reason they disappear when we turn to look at them is that spirit, we see through it. If we think of spirit as being in another dimension.
Yeah. Do you believe everyone has this ability to see spirit, at least to a degree?
I think everybody has the ability to a degree. I often think of it as being similar to art, in that everybody is capable of doing art, but not everybody is going to become an artist. An artist is going to require a significant amount of skill, but it's also going to require a significant amount of dedication to develop real ability and skill in that.
Training. Yeah, that's
Yes.
interesting, because I'm a professional tarot card reader and I often equate it to singing. So I say, anybody can sing at least a little bit. Some you could listen to all day. Some, oh God, please stop,
Right. Right. But we're all capable.
Yeah, yeah. And so when did you find that you had abilities? Was it something ever since you were a very young girl, or was it something you decided for?
My great grandmother was a wise woman in her town, in the fact that people came to her house to have her talk to them about their future and their dead, and to give them simple healing remedies, through herbalism and such. And she knew that I was going to be psychic and a medium from the time I was little. And so my training, if you will, began with games when I was like 3 or 4 years old.
Interesting. And that was like purposeful games that your grandmother did with you?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
wow. Wow.
Yeah,
So
she
were you not aware of what she was doing at the time?
I wasn't aware that it was unusual, is really a better way of putting it. So, like, I had never even heard the word psychic until I was 12 years old and I watched The Dead Zone by Stephen King. But when
Uh-huh.
I understood what it was, I was like, oh, okay. Because my grandmother used simple terms like, sometimes you know things, Sally. Dead people talk to you, Sally. It's okay. There was no fancy fluff. So that Hollywood piece, there was nothing scary about it. But at the same time, she didn't sensationalize it as like, oh, you were so gifted. It was more like, you have brown hair and blue eyes. Dead people talk to you. You see things and know things. So it made it really casual and in some ways easy to accept. And I didn't realize that other people weren't having that experience until I was in school for a while and started realizing it wasn't that common.
Yeah, yeah. So you believe that when you connect with the other side, that there can be healing and guidance there, right?
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that, or even give us an example?
Sure. So, both ways there can be healing and guidance. We can receive guidance from our loved ones who are in spirit when we're in need. And often that guidance is going to come through maybe in our dreams, maybe in a form of knowing. We might even think we're hearing it in our own mind, that it's our voice, because we often don't know how to differentiate between how we're getting information until you're much more developed. And we can also work on healing our dead that have died with a lot of unresolved trauma. And that's something that we're experiencing a lot of in this day and age because, we have a very high level of addiction, PTSD, suicide rates are high, violence is high. So there's a lot of souls that their death is not a smooth transition. And when that happens, I find that families are often really are coming to see a medium, or coming to see me at least, as part of their healing. And then they often will pray or, set up altars and talk to their dead and help them with that processing as well. And a big part of helping our, more troubled dead to find peace comes out of finding peace ourselves, because they are watching the living, they're seeing how their life affected people, their decisions affected people, and that is part of the process.
Oh, interesting. So you're saying that somebody may not necessarily rest on the other side if they left someone in a state of upset or something like
Right.
that?
Well, it's a little different because one of the big differences is in the volume of our emotions. So, I like to describe it in a volume dial like a stereo, in that most people go through life, if we have a, volume dial of 0 to 10, most people go through life with their emotions set at about a 3 or a 4. A person with anxiety, depression, mental illness is going to have their volume of their emotions set more than 8 or a 9, which means they're literally drowning in that emotional feedback all the time, which makes decisions harder to make. When we
Mm.
cross over, we have our emotions turned down to about a 2, which means that we all have the ability to review our life a little more analytically. I kind of look at it, the difference between having a experience or watching something on television. So when we
Okay.
watch something on television, we can still have an emotional response to it, but we can process it easier. So,
Uh,
somebody who's got a lot of emotional things that they carry over with them is not going to be experiencing it at the same volume level that they did. They're going
I
to be able
see.
to analyze it better, be able to see it from different perspectives. There's a lot of healing that happens after we cross into spirit.
And have you come across spirits that were, malevolent in any way?
Sometimes that's really a lot more rare. I think that's the Hollywood bit. The way I describe
Yeah.
it is that most human beings that are alive are pretty decent people. And then there are people who are living people who are malevolent. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same way in spirit. So while I have dealt with spirits in different ways, my work is generally geared toward working with people in a healing manner. I work with everyday people. Police officers and waitresses and grandmas come to see me to connect with their beloved dead. And so most of the time, that's not going to happen.
Okay, you're dealing with human spirits, not demons, not
I I
poltergeists.
have in a different level, I do end up getting called in if people have real problems going on, but
Okay.
again, that percentage of my work is not even a tenth of what I do. But I will say that there are experiences that are out there. There are times when you are dealing with something that is malevolent, or, I don't necessarily know that demonic is always what would be the word to describe it, but definitely evil spirits do exist. They're just a lot less common than Hollywood would like us to believe.
Yeah. How about, have you had any really profound or transformative experience that you could share with us?
Oh, I've had many profound experiences. I have had a lot of experiences with elemental spirits as well as human spirits. In fact, my second book that I wrote, The Path of Elemental Witchcraft, was brought on by a tremendous experience that I had on the side of Mount Shasta with the spirit of water, which I literally had the spirit of water communicating with me at a sacred well. And it was so profound that I was there with 8 other spiritual travelers. And when I was able to open my eyes, everybody was standing around me with their hands up, like, something is happening. We don't know what it is, but it's powerful. In that case, the spirit of water came to me and first started telling me that there was the spirit of water. And in my mind, I'm rationalizing this. Somebody's working on me and singing on me at the same time because I slipped so deeply into a trance, unexpectedly. And then the spirit of water said, yes, but more. I'm like, are you the spirit of this well? And it's like, yes, but more. And I'm like, are you spirit of, all the water of Shasta? And it's like, yes, but more. And then it actually told me that it was the spirit of water, because that consciousness is so connected.
Wow.
And it showed me all the times in my life and in previous lives that I had worked with water. And I've actually worked with water a lot in this lifetime before that. Then what came out of that was that I came home and I immediately started working on the water of people's bodies when I was working on them, because I do healing work as well. So I was asking the water to work with me. And
Oh,
then
and
within
we're
a
like 90% water, right?
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
within a year of that, I had written a 476 page book on working with elemental spirits and magic. And it all came out of this experience with water. On a personal level, I've had many experiences with spirits that are not necessarily human. I like to joke and say my work is pretty normal. I have an office in the downtown area. you know, I'm
Uh-huh.
featured when my town has events going on and stuff. So it's not like I'm hiding this stuff. And so a lot of my clients really are normal and they're having normal needs with spirit. And so Spirit Speaker was written for everybody. The Path of Elemental Witchcraft, which was very big, had a lot of instructions on communicating with spirits. And that information, while it was based on working with different elemental beings, is not limited to that, because those skills can be transferred into different types of beings. A lot of it is about shifting your vibration, if you will. Like, who are you talking to? Again, the radio dial, which
Uh-huh.
channel am I tuned into?
Well, great. Well, in these last couple minutes, what would you like readers to take away about your book? What do you want them to know most importantly?
I want them to know that it's for everybody, that regardless if they are looking for a book to help them to understand the process of death, what happens on a spiritual and energetic level, and what happens when we cross into spirit, whether they are preparing for their own death or whether they are in that beginning stage of being curious about mediumship, because there also is a lot of information in it that is helpful for opening those doors, including the different types of trance that we go into in order to receive information, ways that spirits communicate. So it's a good book for people who are both on the personal path of mediumship and those who are just curious about death for one reason or another.
Fantastic. And Salicrow, how can people connect with you?
They can connect to me through my website, which is salicrow.com. That's SALICROW.com, salicrow.com. And I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and you can find my books at all major booksellers. And if you ask your local library bookstore, you can get it ordered.
Well, we appreciate your time and look forward to digging in.
Awesome. Thank you.
That was psychic medium Salicrow. And in the next segment, we're going to talk to psychic medium Patty Rickman about what she does and how she does it. And in the third segment, we'll get a reading for yours truly.